All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Rethinking Your Classroom in our AI era. We're talking about how to understanding that AI is in our classroom the students have it, we have it, it's there, it's out there, and just rethinking like the process. So instead of being scared about AI, being prepared and being proactive. And today I have got like a super awesome guest to talk us through some application within math. And I know math is they've had this conversation before. So Ryan, welcome. And could you just take a second and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, John. Thanks for having me on. I'm Ryan Bowman. This is my 7th year teaching math at F.J. Wrights High School in Evansville, Indiana. This is my 15th year of teaching in the public schools. And I love teaching. There really is something special to getting to do what we do every day. And I'm addicted to it. I love being here.
Yeah, I know that feeling. And and I got to tell everybody too. I mean, Ryan has done some really great stuff in his room, and in our school, we bring a lot of our classes down to his room to see, other content areas, because he does a lot of really innovative things, and I knew he'd be a great guest for this. Hey, Ryan, I mentioned a minute ago that math has had this conversation before. When photo math and other kinds of take a picture and solve a math problem came along. Can you kind of just talk a little bit about some of those challenges before we kind of turn our attention to AI?
Yeah, absolutely, John. Photo math is something that I've been aware of. Maybe for a decade or so, about when phones became something that every student had. It's really, in hindsight, really easy to imagine that would have been one of the first things that would have shown up on some kid's phone, was an app that would solve math problems for you. And it has had to change the way we think about the questions we ask students in the math classroom. Because all of a sudden we had to realize that students might be able to quickly find a rote answer or a very low DOK kind of answer. So we've had to kind of make some adjustments and think through, how can we change what we're asking, or how can we change what we're asking students to do, knowing they're going to be able to find some answers pretty quickly. It definitely is a challenge.
Yeah, and it's really not, and that thought process wasn't like, what can I do to get around this? It was really like, what are we really asking students to do with the math, right?
Yes, absolutely it is. Yes. I have realized in the time post photo math, if you will, that a lot of what I used to ask students was very simple and wasn't really challenging them. And I almost used the metric of, well, if a student could just quickly photo math that answer, maybe I'm asking the wrong questions. Maybe I'm not asking them to think deeply enough. Or maybe I'm not asking them to do the thinking at all. I'm asking them just to get a number or, a result that may not be connected to some higher meaning.
And that really, and I'm sure all math teachers out there will probably attest, that was really that was a really big earthquake moment in the math field, wasn't it?
It definitely was. It definitely was. We've kind of realized that students will meet that, embrace the technology that's there, and then use it, to their advantage. Kids. Kids are going to take the path of least resistance sometimes, and all of a sudden they found that they had a tool that they could use to meet a lot less resistance than they were used to. And we've had to change the way that we ask students to work just to respond to that, no doubt.
And to be fair and to be honest, photo math really is AI. It was like one of the first versions of an artificial intelligence, wasn't it?
Absolutely was. Yes.
So I brought Ryan on today, and again, like what we've done before, we're just going to take a look at some typical math problems or things, tasks that might be done in a regular math room, and just kind of start thinking about, like, how can I adjust my thinking, adjust my approach to make these more meaningful assignments in the age of AI, in our AI era. So Ryan, can you go ahead and share us a question there?
Absolutely. Sure, absolutely I will. Okay. So I found straight out of the Indiana standards, 6th grade standard is asking students to show that they can find a greatest common factor of two numbers that are whole that are less than or equal to 100. So our example might say, find the greatest common factor of 32 and 56. I can, in fact, I've got photomath right here, John. I can photomath that fact.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells me right away. I don't know if that's going to read nicely on the camera. Yeah. Oh, it's backwards, isn't it? Darn. Well, either way, it's telling me exactly not just what the answer is, but it's showing a process for doing it too. Mm-hmm. That process is actually really useful. And I've had some students in the past that have used photomath and other artificial intelligences to get the support to learn a technique, a skill, a procedure. But you and I both know that most kids that are pulling out photomath to try and do this, they just want the answer, don't they?
Yeah.
So one of the things they just want to get it done with, right? So one of the things we thought about was a way that we have tried to adapt what we do is to think about, well, maybe we need to change what we're asking. So here is a similar problem using the same scenario that is not at all something that photomath can solve for us. I'm going to go to that next slide. Okay, it is to put it into an application. If Ryan has 32 Taylor Swift trading cards and John has 56 Taylor Swift trading cards,
and I want to know why I only have 56.
You and I both know you probably have way more than 56, don't we, John? If they both want to display them in rectangles with the same width and number of cards, what's the biggest width they can use? Now that's the same skill needed, but it's not something that AI. In fact, I practiced it just a little bit earlier. Photomath will not answer that. If I put that prompt in for Photomath, it comes right back and says, we don't know how to do that. We can't answer that question yet. So one way you can almost defeat the use of improper AI is by trying to ask the kind of question that AI can't figure out yet.
And when we think about this kind of question, this goes beyond just like, give me an answer. Now we're talking about an application. So like in the real world, outside of a math classroom, now we're talking about how many tables can you put in a conference center, or how many books can I put on my bookshelf or something, right?
Yes. Yep. How can I arrange this number of things that fits a certain size constraint that I have? Exactly. Yes. Yes. This definitely does extend beyond. Yes.
So now we're not just trying to find an answer, but we're actually using the process to come up with something, and the process of asking kids to not just give me an answer that you got off your phone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. Excellent. And by the way, how many Taylor Swift cards can we put out together?
I think we can make, so let's see, I think that 4 is the greatest common factor. So we can, John, you could do a 4 by, what would it be? A 4 by 14,
4 by 14
arrangement, and mine's going to be 4 by 8. Yeah. Okay. What's definitely true is you would have more of those cards than I do.
Yes. Well, I'll trade you for some of your good ones. Okay.
All right. Okay. That sounds good. Yeah. I'm down.
Excellent. I think you have another example too that might be a little more challenging for some of us.
Yeah, just a different topic level. So here, that was kind of a middle school version. Here's a high school version. This is trigonometry, and I teach trigonometry here at Wrights. So the reason I was thinking about this example is that I gave an assessment yesterday that students need to use this thinking for. But this is a very low, this is a low DOK question for trigonometry about the different trig functions. Suppose the sine of some angle theta is positive and the tangent of some angle is negative. If the angle is in standard position, in which quadrant does the terminal side lie? That's another one that AI can sort out or work out for you with very low effort. So another way that we like to adapt the way we'll ask questions is by changing from something that is rote into something like this that asks you to do some analysis. So here's another example using that same trig standard from Indiana Standards that asks students not to get an answer, but to analyze and process someone's answer. So in this scenario, the same scenario, Ryan states that since the sine function is related to the x-coordinate on the unit circle, the angle lies on the terminal side, or the angle's terminal side is in quadrant 4. Explain why you agree or disagree. AI can't really explain why you agree or disagree with something. And this kind of defeats another common misuse of the AI, in that you're having to actually, you're using the same skill. You're showing your understanding of how the trig functions work in the different quadrants without being something that's so rote. You're having to show that you understand a process, right? Yeah.
I really like this one too, because, and again, I'm not a math person, right? I freely admit that, but I really like this because I feel like I could get the wrong answer but explaining why I got the wrong answer in a way kind of like helps you see where I made the mistake, helps me see where I made
Yes.
the mistake, and the fact that I understand the process. Even though I made the mistake, I understand the process in a way that I can, like, I can explain myself, right? I just didn't
That's
come up with an
exactly,
answer.
John.
I don't know.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to tell you, John, which is that I think that this gives me as an educator more information, right? If I ask the very low DOK question and a kid just writes down the quadrant, I don't know why they thought what they thought. If
Mhm.
they got it right, I don't necessarily know why they got it right. They might have just guessed there's only 4 options, right?
Right.
But if I ask this question, they're going to tell me exactly why they chose what they chose. And as an educator, I have more access to the information, what's going on in here, that I can help. And this actually happened in my classroom today. A lot of students that missed this item had at least written out why they thought what they thought. And we were going to have way more fruitful conversations about it because I knew where they were coming from.
And it's that conversation that really allows not just for you to see or them to see, but that really sets up a class culture, doesn't it? To where now, and I know you do a lot of this in your classroom, where it's now, well, what did you get? Why did you get that? So now you're fostering that student to student communication.
Exactly, exactly. The more and more I teach, the longer I teach, the more I realize and understand that mathematics is really about communicating your thinking, communicating about quantities and the logic behind how those quantities interact. And I guess I am blessed to have created a situation here at Wrights where a lot of our students do spend a good chunk of each of their days communicating their thinking with one another. But it is items like this that kind of provide the fruit for that conversation.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, Ron, I totally appreciate you coming on and sharing some of this with us. Do
Yeah.
you have any like final thoughts you'd like to share on this?
I really, first of all, thank you, John, for having me on. I really do think that AI is a tool that we need to embrace as educators. The reality is that I use AI a lot in preparing tasks for students. AI does a great job at finding other examples of something. If you're trying to find a unique example of a certain math problem or a certain type of math problem, AI can be pretty good at helping you find those scenarios or giving you chances to generate new practices or things like that for students. So I don't want to, I hope that what we've shared today doesn't show a characterization of AI that it's something that we should be avoiding. We should be embracing it. But I think the way that we ask our students to work can do a good job at providing students fewer opportunities to use it for bad intents.
Excellent. Hey, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Hey, thank you so much. This has been enlightening. I appreciate you taking the time to share this with us. And I hope that a lot of people get a lot out of this. And everybody, thank you for joining us. And look for our next episode where we talk about science. Have a great day, everybody.